Because I feel like success is, and I've heard that from a friend of mine. He said, "Don't love your job, job your love." So
I
yeah,
love that.
yeah. And when he said that to me, that hit me, and I was like,
Mm, yeah, nah. So this clip went viral a while back because it was basically saying the cliche idea of love what you do and you never work a day in your life, while trying to sound super profound, which obviously it backfired, and then you end up having memes of "Don't face your fears, fear your face." It kind of really funny memes. But what they're actually missing is that it's not love, neither is it passion that you need in a job, and the real reason that you have the Monday blues is because of this one missing ingredient: your identity. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about why you have the Monday blues, how your identity is actually tied to meaningful work, and what you should do before you decide to quit or to continue staying. But first, hi, I'm Jeron and I am the Purpose Finder Guy, and I'm here to help you find your true identity and purpose in life. So, let's dive in. Now, tell me if this sounds familiar. You start your weekend by sleeping in until Saturday afternoon, and then you watch anime till late at night. The next day, you go to church, you hang out with friends until dinner, and honestly, that's a pretty good weekend. But then, as you go to bed, the looming realization hits that you have to go through 5 days, 5 more days of soul sucking work before you can get another rest again. You're living for the weekend, but that's not what you were born to do. So, how did you get to this point? Why do some people feel so unfulfilled at work and are always thinking of quitting? Well, interestingly, in the past month, I've met three young ladies, aged 25 to 31, who were all going through challenges at work and they were considering quitting. And as I listened to their stories and I dug into the workplace studies by Deloitte, by Pew Research, I found these three consistent themes as to why they want to quit. Number one, a lack of advancement and growth. It's actually found that up to 63% of people who quit their jobs do so because they no longer see a pathway for learning, for growth, and for advancement. Take my friend Amy, who was only 25 and she was hired for a specific skill set in the area of sustainability. However, just after 1 year at her new workplace, she realized that there isn't really a pathway for growth for her. She also felt like she wasn't being challenged enough, and because she was the only one who was hired for compliance purposes, she didn't really see whether she would be able to learn and to develop her skill sets and to grow as a person. So, because of that, she's already in the midst of a career switch. Number two, toxic workplace environments. This could range from a mean boss to a heavy workload that spills into your non office hours, or maybe even a combination of both. And it can become a deal breaker, especially if it affects your mental health. Up to 45% of young workers report that they suffer from toxic workplace cultures, and it's reported that 71% of Gen Zs have needed to take a time off just to deal with the workload and the stress. In fact, just last week, I met this new friend, let's just call her Beth, and she was so afraid of her boss that she found herself physically distancing herself from her boss whenever she saw her. And it got so bad that she needed to take a day off to spend time in nature, to recalibrate, to recharge. So naturally, she's already applying for interviews elsewhere, and hopefully, she gets a better boss in the future. Number three, no sense of meaningful contribution. So there's been a shift in the workplace expectations and aspirations ever since millennials joined the workforce. 97% of millennials and 96% of Gen Z say that they need a sense of purpose in their job and it is vital to their job satisfaction. And 72% of millennials say that they need to know that they are making a positive contribution either to their companies or to society as a whole. So a friend that I've known since university, let's just call her Caris, she has been facing this same problem at her work recently. And she was feeling really down at work, partially because of a boss who gives her a ton of work but doesn't really give her constructive feedback. But the more important reason was because her job requires her to make strategies. However, she found that she wasn't able to develop these strategies because she wasn't given the tools and the data necessary to make them. So when her boss tells her that she is not strategic enough without giving her the proper feedback, my friend doesn't know how to improve and she feels like she's just not good enough and that she's not providing value to her company. Now, because of these challenges at work, Amy, Beth, and Caris are all going through a quarter life crisis. And by the way, if you want to understand more about that, I recently did a video where I break down the three core questions at the heart of the quarter life crisis and solutions on how to overcome them. I'll put a link up on the screen later at the end of this video. Otherwise, you can also check out the link in the description below. So after speaking with my three friends, I realized that people, especially in my generation, don't just want to feel valued, but they also want to feel like they are being valuable. We want our work to have some sort of meaning, some sort of significance. So when we look at these three words, value, meaning, significance, these are all things that we look for in a job. But more importantly, these are also central ideas to the concept of identity. So let's explore how our identity is tied to meaningful work. For a long time, we've heard of this idea called work life balance as though there's only two parts of your life: the things that you do at work and in the office, and everything else in life. And understandably so, because you spend about half your waking hours at the office, at your job, especially if you work in a typical 9 to 5 office job. However, this idea of work life balance essentially separates your life into two halves. There's the side of work where you earn money, and then the side of life where you spend that money. And while money is a primary reason for going to work, it is actually for the non money reasons that people often quit, as is the case for my three friends. Because it's not always about the pay, it's also about the feelings of growth, of achievement, of recognition, and of feeling valuable. And the truth is that many of these feelings are best experienced at work, and it's harder to experience it outside of work. Now, why do I say this? Typically, you get employed and paid because your company sees value in your skill sets and in your time. And a key part of a sense of meaning is actually self actualization, meaning becoming the best version of yourself. And you don't just become the best version of yourself without challenges. Now, because of the stress and expectations put on you by your boss, by your paying clients, you are then forced to develop your skill sets, to grow your strengths, and to become a better version of yourself. And this is precisely why my friend Caris was feeling so down. Because her boss doesn't give her constructive feedback, she doesn't know how to improve, and then she personally feels like she's not really putting out much value to the company. Now, it has less to do with the boss per se, although I would say she's not great, but it's more to do with the fact that my friend Caris isn't experiencing a sense of self through her work. So, this is what I told her: your identity is tied to your work, and that's not a bad thing. In fact, your identity is central to everything that you do, whether it's at work, whether it's anywhere else, and it needs to be expressed. In an age where authenticity is being increasingly valued and encouraged, it comes as no surprise that the workplaces that actively suppress it are going to be the ones without motivated people. So if you're experiencing the Monday blues, even if your pay is really good, but because your identity is being suppressed, a small part of you is just dying bit by bit every day. But before you hand in your resignation letter, you need to first understand your identity and which parts of it need to be expressed. Otherwise, if you just blame your boss or blame your coworkers, your type of work, you might find yourself switching careers only to get yourself in the same situation again. So here's what to do before deciding to quit or to continue staying. Firstly, you need to identify who you are outside of your job title so that you know how you should be showing up at work. Your identity is comprised of six different aspects, including your personality, your strengths, your interests, and personal values and beliefs. Now, to help you figure this out, I've designed the Personal Identity Toolkit. It's a set of worksheets with guided reflection questions that will help you identify who you are and to craft a personal identity bio. This toolkit is completely free and you can download it with the link in the description below. So here I have mine printed out where I've already done up my personal identity bio, and then I'm going to go through the three reflection questions that you have to go through in order to decide whether you should stay at your job or not. Now, first, let me give you an example. I'm going to read out my personal identity bio. So I write here, I am an idealistic, confident, and analytical person, born and raised as a Singaporean Chinese, but relatively non traditional. I'm good at public speaking and I learn quickly, but I tend to procrastinate easily. I enjoy video games, chess, and outdoor activities, and learning about self improvement. An interesting fact about myself is that I used to be a competitive gamer when I was young, and my hope and mission in life is to help people discover and live out their true identity and purpose. Okay, so that's the bio that I just written out. Now, then here are the three practical application questions. So you can see here, I actually designed a table here as well that you can just use and fill in. After you've printed it out, you can just read off it. It says, in the table below are a few reflection questions to help you think about how to practically express your personal identity in various settings. So one of the columns here, there's home. there's social gatherings, and then over here is work, your workplace. So these are the three important reflection questions to ask yourself. Number one, which parts of my identity get expressed here? Number two, what other parts of my identity do I want to make known here? And number three, how do I make changes to better express my identity here? Okay, so for my example, since I'm self-employed, I'm already mostly fully expressing my identity. So instead, I'm going to try to apply these questions to what I used to do in my previous workplace. I used to do sales for a social enterprise. We developed water filters for disaster relief. So a lot of my work was traveling around the world, helping bring clean drinking water to people. So which part of my identity get expressed here? Well, there's the purpose-driven work, there's the aspect of learning and opportunities for learning. I didn't say in my personal bio earlier, but in one of the exercises, I wrote down that independence is one of my strengths. So I was really independent when I was working at my previous company. And a key part of my identity is also self improvement, which I had a lot of opportunities for self improvement when I was working at that job. Now, I have to ask myself what other parts of my identity would I have wanted to made known when I was working there? It's probably with the idea of helping people find their purpose. I probably would have talked more to my colleagues and try to help them figure out what is their purpose and identity in life. I think I didn't really do that much when I was working there previously. And how do I make any changes to express that part of my identity better? Well, probably I could have just done it over casual meals. I had a couple of casual meals with my colleagues, but I rarely got into these deeper topics, except maybe for some of my interns when they were about to complete their internship. So, because a great part of my identity was expressed in my previous job, that's why I stayed there for 8 years. Now, as to the reason why I decided to quit and change course, well, that's a story for another time. So, if you're interested and want to hear more of such stories, make sure you click subscribe so that you are notified when I drop those videos. Okay, so take your time, do the personal identity toolkit, and then get your answers to the three questions. But before you go ahead and do your reflections, let me just finish off this video. Once you have the answers to your three questions, then it's time to take these answers and go speak to your HR rep, to your manager, and tell them that you're feeling the Monday blues, and these are some of the ideas you have in terms of how you can overcome them. See if you can work out an arrangement that helps you to better express your identity and to experience more meaning at work. Okay, but what if your boss isn't the kind of person that you want to talk to? I'm going to give you the same advice that I gave to my friend Beth, who had a really toxic boss. Now, even if your boss is toxic, you're scared of them, and it's probably a better idea to leave, it's still important that you bring up these concerns and to speak up for yourself. Because even if nothing changes and things don't improve for the better, you're doing it to speak up for yourself and to build up courage that will follow you wherever you go. Now, if after talking it out and you realize there's a total mismatch of expectations, then yeah, maybe it's time to leave. The good thing is, now you know exactly who you are and what you're looking for, so you're much better prepared when you're looking for a job elsewhere. While the Monday blues is a common phenomenon, it does not have to be your reality. Now, one final thing that I want to say is that maybe after going through all my recommendations, you still feel that nagging sense of uncertainty and of dread, well, then maybe you're going through a quarter life crisis. Which is why I made this next video here where I break down the three core questions in the quarter life crisis and how to overcome it. You can check it out over here. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.